Yeah, bloody good, eh?
It's good to see you safe and sound.
Oh, happy to be here, man.
Where are you? Are you still kicking it at home?
Yeah, bro. Yeah, and Wanaka still. Yeah.
Yeah. How's that treating you with all this isolation and whatnot going on?
It's pretty good. Obviously it's a bit different here, being like a touristy town. But I was had a couple of days back into my old job on the cars and that, but things have slowed up, so I'm just on a casual contract, just waiting for things to pick up again, hopefully, and get back into it, eh?
Yeah. But
Yeah.
fuck, how long have you been back home now?
For probably, I'd say I've probably been back in Wanaka maybe 3 weeks.
3 weeks, and 2 weeks prior to that was for isolation.
Yeah. So I had 2 weeks up in a hotel in Auckland. Yeah.
Yeah, rightio. Well, I reckon we kick this off, bro, from the start of your trip, because fucking when did your trip even take place? I mean, obviously, I only heard of it from the downfall.
Yeah. So we buggered off overseas about the 20th of December. Flew into Colombia, and then went from there basically. So we were meant to originally do 7 weeks, and then we got into it, and then we're like, oh bugger it, we're over here now. We might as well push out to 3 months and just do it all while we're here, and then it all, obviously things just went a bit haywire at the end. So we were 3 days from coming home, Yeah.
Oh, so it was that close?
Yeah,
crossed over like that.
I was done. I was like, all my money was rinsed. Like, I was just finished. I was happy with what I'd seen, and I was on the last leg, like heading home, and it just went a bit fucky.
So was it just you and a mate that went over?
Yeah, just me and one mate from school. Yeah.
And how long did you guys plan that for before going on the trip? Did you have to save up a bit of coin?
Yeah, me and him were both pretty avid savers as it was anyway. I've always saved money, I just never really had a purpose. So like, but we booked that trip in. We started booking in like July, so it was way before any of this kicked off.
So where'd you tour around over there?
We did.
Where'd you actually go?
So we did Colombia. And then we took a boat from Colombia to Panama for 5 days on the water. Then we did Panama, Peru, and then when we got to Peru, that's when we'd done like 6 weeks at that point. We're like, oh bugger it, let's just carry on. And then we did Bolivia, Chile, Argentina, Uruguay, and then back to Argentina, Bolivia, and we meant to fly out of Peru.
So it was a good wee session then.
Oh mate, it was bloody awesome, so fun.
What was Colombia like?
It was good, eh? Like, it was I actually made sure I didn't watch Narcos before I went over, because I don't want to have like an idea on just from something silly like watching a bloody TV show. I didn't watch it, and you hear all the rumors and that, like a lot of people were going, oh, you got to be careful, and you blah, all that. Colombian people were great, didn't really feel like, a bit of common sense goes a long way in like all of those countries, So I didn't feel unsafe or anything like that. And if you did, you just got out of the situation you're in, or you didn't put yourself in that situation, So,
bro, that's a smart move, because then otherwise you would have gone over there thinking like in the back of your head like something's gonna go down, like your anxiety would be through the roof, bro.
Yeah, it was already like you could just tell that. A lot of those people over there, and it's just the way it is, they're trying to rip you off. I don't think necessarily was really trying to hurt you or anything on purpose, but they're always trying to rip you off. Or, there's a lot of pickpocketing and that kind of thing going on. So you just got to have your head on a swivel, and just like I say, a bit of common sense goes a mile over in those countries. But it was,
Did you so you didn't run into any problems?
Nothing major, There was only like one. There's a couple of situations where we're in, just out on the town, and you do get a bit boozy and that, and you end up, kind of talking to not the wrong person, but he's trying to take you to his club or whatever, and you're like, oh man, I don't know about that sort of thing. And then the only time I really had, like any time I was like, oh shit, was there was a fella who tried to pull a screwdriver on me in Argentina.
But was it a flathead or a Phillips?
Looking at it, I think it was a Phillips head, one of those Phillips maybe. they really get it in there.
Yeah. What a dodgy fucker.
Yeah.
How did this come? Like, he just caught you off guard, or?
We're just middle of the day. We're just walking down the street, and we're just kind of. There was a few of us together, so there's maybe 4 of us. So, and I saw him kind of meandering around, like, and there was not. It was like it was just like one street off the main road, so it wasn't in the middle of nowhere, and it was in Buenos Aires, so it's a busy city and that, and yeah, he was kind of just meandering around. He didn't really look like he was doing much, and then we kind of got past him. I just like I say, head on a swivel. I just kind of turned back, and he's reaches into his pocket and like pulls out and sees me looking, and just shoves it back in, and
wow.
Well, then I was like, I got a couple of, I just didn't boost it, but I just fucking jumped ahead, and I was like, no, you guys, this guy scurried off. I was like, oh, shit, he didn't look that sketchy.
Were you in a group?
Yeah, I think there's about 4 of us, I think it's
a ballsy move.
It is, hey, yeah. Like I say, over there, I don't think they, I don't necessarily think they are out to hurt you. They just want your shit. But you just gotta, yeah. He obviously needed something more than we did.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Well, it's good that it doesn't live up to the name, like you say, bro. Yeah. I reckon that's the smartest move, not watching Narcos before you go over there, because like, I've seen that TV series, bro, and it's crazy, and you automatically think of that when you think of it.
Exactly. As soon as you mention Colombia, first thing everyone goes, Pablo Escobar, cocaine, all that kind of stuff, and you're like, yeah. But I was like, going over there for a different purpose. Like we managed to find. I was traveling with my mate Connor, and we managed to pretty quickly find a good mixture of partying and seeing cool stuff. You know what I mean? Like you don't just want to spend all your OE sitting in your hostel hungover or anything like that. Eh?
No, bro, and that's it. That's why I don't understand why people go do their overseas experience when they're so young, because you're going over to all these other countries, you're getting fucked up, and you're not really making the most of your trip because you're too busy worrying about getting on the piss or fucking, looking for the goods, and not making the most of the scenery that you're actually around. You're basically just getting pissed in a different country. That's
exactly it, man. And so I'm 23, almost 24 now, and I am glad I didn't go earlier, sort of thing. But especially that for me, that was actually my first my longest trip before that was 3 weeks in Canada. This is this is my first actual time traveling, backpacking sort of thing, and it was a cool area to go. It was really pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's a good, and you've got your head screwed on, bro. So you would have known what was going on over there. Did you delve into any of the good stuff over there, or?
Oh, win in Rome. Yeah, had a dabble, mate. It was good. It was good fun. It was funny though. Funny saying that. It always doesn't matter. Where you go, you're gonna, like I say, win in Rome. But Colombia, it was actually pretty rubbish. It was the worst we had in South America, which is funny. After you talk about Narcos and all that kind of carry on. It was everyone. It's like I say,
not living up to their name.
No, they're not, man. They're sending it all to the States, I reckon. Because like I say, as soon as you say Colombia, everyone goes Escobar's cocaine, and it's just. It just wasn't there, right? It just wasn't living up to what it was meant to.
Really? Well, if you're listening to that, don't bloody get caught up in the rubbish shit in Colombia.
No, mate. Head to Bolivia.
Yeah, fucking oath. Well, so where'd you go after that? After Colombia?
So Colombia, after Colombia, we actually did a 5 days on a boat through a chain of islands called the San Blas Islands, and into Panama. Which was pretty cool. It was unfortunately we went during the rough windy season, so we had a few hours on the boats because it wasn't not necessarily a short trip, but we had a few hours on the boats that were pretty rough, especially when you're hungover. Right? It was hard on the body.
Yeah, bro. Being on a boat when you're pissed is like double as bad, eh?
Oh man,
or even hungover.
Yeah, man. We had some pretty nasty seas. Like even the guides that take the trip and that, they were saying, this is probably on the limit to what we'd normally travel in, sort of thing. And we're like, oh shit, but it is what it is. It was the same thing. Now I look back, it's no different to being stuck over in Peru. It's all part of the experience.
I was gonna say, bro, that was nothing compared to what you were about to get yourself into.
Man, it was
So what? Going across on the boat? Where were you going to on that boat?
So we went from Colombia through a chain of islands called the San Blas Islands and into Panama. So the whole different countries. We did border crossings and that on the sea and that, which is pretty interesting. So it was
border crossings on the sea.
Yeah, you kind of got to cut into the shore, and then they run dogs over your bags and all that kind of thing, and then you leave the shore again. Yeah, it's pretty cool, So.
And how long does that take? How long are you waiting on shore for?
Not long at all. You kind of dip down. They scan your passport as quick as they can, or they take a photo of it and stamp you out. Pretty much, it was probably, I'd say, there was probably like 25 people on the boats that we had, and it probably only still took maybe a max of an hour, sort of thing. They just.
So they'll just come onto the boat, give it a wee scour, check all your passports and whatnot, and then send you on your way.
Yeah, we kind of pull up to the shore, and we did have to get off the boat so they could scan our passports and that, and then they just run the dogs through everything and check you got nothing dodgy, and then just stamp your passport and away you go, sort of thing.
Anyone get pulled up on anything?
Nah. We actually figured. Funny thing is, we actually you wouldn't want to test the theory, but we did actually kind of come to the conclusion we think a lot of those dogs that they have over there probably aren't actually like drug dogs. Yeah, all well trained. They're just there to scare the shit out of people, sort of thing. And it works too. There's a lot of people, you can see them sitting there fucking puckering up and hoping that they got no leftovers in their bags. I'd be lying if I said I didn't do it once or twice.
Oh, bro, that is crack up. So what? And then they'll just send you on your way, and you just off to the next one. Is this is this you just stop at an island?
Yeah, it's like it's all like connected mainland. So you just dip into the mainland. Your boat pulls up at like a wee village sort of thing, but they've got it all set up as a border crossing. So they they scan your passport and stamp your passport, and away you go. As long as they've got your information of you leaving one country and going into another, they're pretty happy. It's pretty lax over there, to be honest. Yeah, or was.
I've never even heard of that stuff. And do you have to pay to go cross the border?
Nah, luckily, I think a lot of it's.
Is it like a toll?
Yeah, we didn't find any of that going on that I can remember off the top of my head, sort of thing. I think there are certain passports that you travel on, like a lot of it that's been eradicated now. But I know that there was a couple of countries where if you were on a US passport, obviously the United States have pissed a few people off through Central America and South America and that. So only the US citizens will have to pay like $80 or something.
Yeah.
But everyone else is pretty free travel.
Fuck those cunts.
Yeah.
Charge them 80. Hey.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like I said, I think they've wreaked a bit of havoc through, Panama and all that kind of thing. So, some of those guys are still pretty salty about it.
And do you? How many of these did you cross?
It's just the one. So as soon as you're stamped into the country,
you're sweet as.
You're sweet. Yeah, that's it. And then you're staying on the New Zealand passport, and I think every country through South and Central America, you get 90 days on a New Zealand passport, and I think Aussie's pretty much identical as well. Like I say, we're just so lucky to get this trip in, bro, before all hell broke loose, because we were like a lot of border crossings, like the one we did from Peru to Bolivia. You literally just walk across the border, and as long as you get your passport stamped, they're happy, sort of thing. So that might change now that everything's all on the piss now.
I think a lot is going to change now, bro. Yeah, I don't even know when they'll be opening any borders up. From our end anyway, Australia, New Zealand.
Yeah, I know there's all talk of that Trans-Tasman bubble thing that might go ahead later in the year, which could be pretty handy for Aussie and New Zealand that like to be rivals when it comes to.
It's a smart move, bro. It's a real smart move, because hopefully it'll help hike up the economy and get it back to normal.
Exactly, bro.
But it's funny now. Like all of a sudden, Scott Morrison's like, "Oh yeah, maybe this could work," and it's like, man, we've wanted to work with you for ages.
Yeah, it's crazy. A lot of these things that are going on, and that people have been talking about them. And it's like it took a pandemic for these things to happen. It's like madness.
At least it's all happening now, though.
Yeah, it's good. It's been a pretty big catalyst for a lot of change, I think, for a lot of people, even right down to people's personal lives. And it's been pretty interesting, and being caught up in it was pretty buzzy experience.
Oh, bro, you've experienced it the most out of anyone I know, because I don't know, when I seen what you had posted on Facebook, I was like, holy fucking shit, like that's crazy. So you went from, so you're going through all these countries, and then where was your last stop? Where was your next stop after Panama?
So I went through Panama, and then flew down to Peru to pretty much do Machu Picchu. So it was wicked, man. We went to Cusco in Peru.
Well, hold on a minute here. To do what?
Machu Picchu.
What is that?
7 wonders of the world, mate. It's the big built on the side of the mountains by like the Inca people, they call them. It's fucking wicked, bro. Yeah, it's so cool. It's like one of the best things I will ever do. It's one of those things, like, a lot of people rave on about it when they've done it, and I can see why, man. Like, when you go there, it's just a fuzzy ass experience.
What's something you're not used to, bro? So it's always those experiences are the ones that stand out.
Oh man, this year was just like, for it being one of the 7 wonders of the world, there's no questions why. Like, it's just outrageously cool, and it's just just when you're there, it was the buzziest feeling. But we'd done we left from Cusco in Peru, which was actually one of my favorite places on the whole trip. It was just a cool city, And I was like, so we left from Cusco, and we did a 5-day hike on a track called the Salcantay Trail, which was one of like the, hundreds of years ago, it was one of the tracks that they used to cross the mountain pass to get to Machu Picchu. And that was rough. Like, we were hiking at 5,000 meters above sea level, and I'm just not conditioned for that kind of carry on,
Not after your previous part of the trip, I guess,
mate, it was just, the heart was ready for it, mate. My heart rate had been through the roof a few times before that.
And what is that? How many people were on this little hike?
I think there must have been about probably maybe 15, 20 of us. So it was a good wee group, and we met a lot of friends along the way, but it was just, it was pretty rough. It was 5 days, and like I say, you got pretty high up in the mountains and that, but it was just like, once we got through that, it was pissing down with rain too. So we went in the rainy season. We were one of the last groups to go before they shut the track for
well planned.
Well planned, yeah, another well planned trip. Just doing that 5-day hike, bro. It was like, when we eventually got to the destination, it just felt like you'd almost earned it in a way. It was so good.
So it's a 5-day hike to the destination. What's it called again?
Machu Picchu.
Machu Picchu, and what's there? Is it just a beauty?
Yeah, bro. If you got it up, try banging it into Google, bro. It's so sick. So it's like an old. I honestly couldn't tell you dates in that, but it's like thousands of years old, and it's all built from hand-cut rock, and it's this old like settlement that they had built on the top of a mountain, and it's just, it's how they built it, I don't have a clue. Like, it's just mind-blowing.
What, have they had to bring all the materials to build this stuff up from the city?
Yeah, so they back in the day, it's like thousands of years old, they dragged all the rock from a quarry. They told us distances. It was like quite a few, like k's and k's away. They dragged these massive slabs of rock that are like, as big as like some of them are like easily as big as like a small car sort of thing. And then they cut them all by hand, and they built a city on top of a mountain, or like a village on top of the mountains. It's just insane. And
do people still live up there?
No, it got lost for I think it got rediscovered in about like the 1930s. So it got it eventually, when the Spanish come through and took over like Peru and Colombia and all that, the people who were living there just like ditched the city, and the Spanish never found it. So that's why it's so well preserved. It eventually got all overgrown, over hundreds of years, and then got rediscovered, I think, about somewhere around the 1920s, 1930s, and they started going in, and now it's one of the, like I say, it's one of the 7 wonders of the world. So it's pretty epic.
Bro, I've definitely haven't heard of that shit. My geography and all that is out the window hard, bro. Ever since school, I think I didn't do geography at school, bro. So people will be like, oh yeah, I've travelled to here, and I'll be like, oh yeah, where's that?
Bro, same thing. I'm so bad. Like, I remember Brad was like geography in New Zealand. Like, I'm terrible. I don't even know half the street names of Wanaka, but I was like, yeah.
But do you find that because you've been there now, like it's like when you get told something, like it doesn't register, but when you do it, it registers because you
Oh,
remember how to do it. Is it the same with that? Like you know those places now because you've been there?
absolutely, bro. Like, I know, like I say, if you, I would have been able to probably point South America out on a map if I was lucky before I went, sort of thing. Like, and even when we got over there, like, I literally didn't know anything about. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I did bugger all research. I started learning a wee bit of Spanish to help me get me through in that, but I knew nothing about where I was going, and I was just like, that's kind of the way I wanted it. Just thrown in the deep end a wee bit.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it. Wait, hold on there, mate. I just need to turn my headphones up.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, that's the way you want it, bro. Is get thrown in the deep end, and you have
Yeah,
to learn.
yeah, and that was exactly it, bro. It was just, it was cool, and like even meeting people along the way, you meet so many people traveling as well, and they'll go, oh, I'm from, for example, like Belgium or something, and like I say, my geography is terrible, and I go, I know where it is, and then it makes you like Google it, and like you look up and you're like, oh yeah, Belgium, rah rah, and then you get like I've learned way more geography about the world like on that trip than I ever have before.
Well, yeah, it's like a completely different knowledge, bro. You have people that go like overseas and they'll go traveling for like a couple of years or whatever, tour around the world, and they come back and they're like different people, bro. They're just
Yeah,
like an abundance of knowledge that they seem to be a lot more like relaxed and like because they've experienced the way everyone else lives, and then they can sort of like understand it better rather than just understanding the way you were brought up.
yeah, for sure, man. And like I think that for me as well, like that's why my trip was it was really good timing. Like at the age that I am, 20. Well, not not perfect timing, but good timing for me. Like being 23 and that, like I've been working at my same job for like 6 years. So I left school earlier and did a trade in that, and I was at the point where I was just a wee bit like itchy and a wee bit frustrated, not sure what to do in that, and yeah, just I've come back just feeling like exactly that, just more relaxed. Like I'm not going to be like one of those white girls on Instagram that's it's so life changing and beautiful. I'm like
Yeah.
nothing like that, but
Yeah.
it was
Oh,
just
bro, those
yeah.
those like when chicks say that stuff, it sounds rude as, but I
Oh,
think it's actually for real, bro. I think it is
and,
actually life changing.
and
Like,
that's why, like, that's what I want to say. Things like a lot of these people, you get a lot of like hippies and soap dodgers and that, like doing this stuff, and they're like same thing. They're like it's so enlightening and like spiritual and stuff. You're like, it is, but stop going on about it.
yeah.
But
No, yeah, I get it.
I fully agree, man. Like for me, it was like a just for the point I was at in my life. I've come back and I'm just like a lot of things that I thought were like kind of mattered. That I'm just like, oh fuck, like who cares? Like, I'm just a lot more laid back. I feel, which is nice, and especially in a time like this where things are so stressful. Like, it was a blessing and a curse sort of thing for me because a lot of people got blown out of their routine. They were at they're used to working and playing footy and stuff like that. But I haven't had a routine for 3 months. So to come back and have this, I'm like, oh, well, I don't really know what's normal anymore anyway. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
I've been up in the hills.
I've been getting enlightened. I'm all spiritual now.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
so what? You went up, you hiked this hill, and then is it 5 days up, 5 days back down, or is it quicker to get back down?
Nah, so it's 5 days. So 5 days was the end of it. So you go up to a lake on the first day, and then you go down, and then you spend 2 days going up and over like a mountain pass. So that's 3 days, and then one day you're walking to the next township. So it's pretty flat. So that was day 4, and then day 5 was the actual trip up to Machu Picchu. So there's a town at the bottom of the mountain where that village was built on, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so that's just a day trip in itself. And then after that, we went back to Cusco. So it was 5 days. It was kind of 4 days of trekking, and then one day of the actual Machu Picchu, and then yeah, back to base.
And then where was it from there?
So then, we were back at Cusco, and then that was when our trip was meant to end. So we'd done 6 weeks at that point, and we're 4 days from going home, and we're meant to be flying out of just another town and another city in Peru, and me and Connor, my mate who are traveling with, were just like, oh mate, I'm just not ready to go. We've still got money, like we're just getting our stride, like we're and I was just like, we're here now, like let's just do it. So email travel agent back home and just said, hey, how easy, what's it going to cost us to change our flights to come home in March? And she's like, oh, $300. And I was like, yep, get it done. So yeah. So we're meant to come home about February the 5th, and then we extended out to the 20th of March. So we did extended out by like another like 8 weeks or something like that. So
right. It's lucky that your work and everything was all good with that.
I'd actually, Connor, my mate, he's an industrial electrician, so he's just on contract. So he owns, he's self-employed sort of thing. And I had actually quit my job because I was meant to be coming back and going to university. I was going to change things up a bit. So I technically didn't have a job either, and he's self-employed or whatever.
So why not?
So we had, exactly, bro. That's what we said. Why not? We had the freedom. We're just like, let's do it, eh?
And once you're already there, bro, it's like, you don't want to come back and then have to plan another holiday. Like, there's extra flights. Fuck it, just bang another 8 weeks on it. That's
what we did. We're like, because that's like return flights to and from South America can easily cost you $3,000, and I was like, we're here now. I'm not coming. I don't want to come back too soon. I was like, we'll just do it while we're here. So we both just looked at each other and just gave the nod, and
nothing was said.
Nothing more was said. Email sent, and we just carried on. So and then from there we buggered off to Bolivia pretty much a few days later, and I did the border crossing into. From Bolivia to Peru, that's one you literally just walk over the border and they stamp your passport. And I literally knew not a single thing about Bolivia when we got there.
I don't know anything about it. Where is it?
Borders. So it's kind of, I guess you'd say it's near the middle of South America from memory, and it's just borders Argentina, Chile, and Peru. So it's kind of. Yeah, and I knew nothing about Bolivia. Like if someone said to me Bolivia before I went, I'd go, no, thank you.
And what was the experience like there? Was it mind blown or what?
Yeah, so one thing I was like, because this is my first time traveling, a lot of things were obviously new to me. And one thing I kind of, coming from a place like New Zealand where you're just an island nation, one thing that was a really foreign concept to me was the fact that when you cross literally a land border where you just go from one country to another, the countries were so different. Like the people looked different. The people were like, they spoke different in accents, like the currencies and the economies and that were completely like not even near each other sort of thing. And it was just, for me, that was just like, a lot of people that would just be like normal, that's no different from going to, from going between Russia and somewhere else, sort of thing.
Yeah, but because we haven't been brought up around it, it's odd, eh?
Nah. So all of that to me was a huge experience, eh? And going into Bolivia, I felt like the most sort of kind of genuine South American in the fact that it was there was a lot of poverty there, so it was it was a wee bit like dirtier and like not quite as developed, and then it was a very genuine experience, but it was pretty that was one of the countries that probably made me, those experiences when you go traveling made me appreciate like what home was like in that.
Yeah. Sometimes you need places like that. I mean, is it third world?
Yeah, it is, and that's one of the points like I'll get to at the end, like especially when the wheels started falling off, sort of thing. You very quickly realise that you're in a sort of third world country, eh? Like it's like they've got infrastructure, they've got cars, they've got like I say, they've got currencies and all that kind of thing, but it's just there's just huge levels of poverty and there are people struggling in that. So it's it's really hard when you do want to help everyone and all that kind of thing, but it's it's just really underdeveloped, and it's some of it's sad to see, but a lot of the people are still really happy with what they've got, which I think is that learning
bro,
experience.
And that's what you find, You go to those countries and they don't know any different, bro, and they seem to be the happiest people you ever meet. You come to like cities, like even Perth, bro, you're walking around here, like majority of the people over here are nice, bro, but you get people and they're just stuck in their routine, bro, and it's just like they're zipping around, bro, they're stressing out, and it's like, man, fucking relax.
Yeah, like, stop and smell the roses, Like, just. Oh.
But it's like that, bro. And then like, what? We'll go over to Bali, bro. Kick it over there. They're like, they're getting paid fuck all. You know what I mean? They're doing fuck all, and they're just fucking happy as Larry, bro. They are happy as Larry. They
just doing their thing, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's speaking of like the sign language thing, there's a lot of that going on overseas. When you like say, I knew minimal as Spanish. Like I would learn like enough to. I just didn't really want to offend you. I wanted to be polite and like just a few things and that. But there's heaps of like pointing and shooting sort of thing. Just going, fuck, that's what I want. Or,
did you ever try to give that Google Translate a go?
Oh, it was a godsend. It was so good.
I've never used it, but I've heard about it, and it looks amazing.
Yeah, bro. There's a lot of it, like a lot of it, like exactly that. You can just talk into it, and it changes, or you can actually do it with your phone too on camera, and you can like point it at a menu, and it'll translate it like in live time on your screen. Sort of thing. It's really good, bro. Sometimes it's on the piss. Like I'm not gonna lie, it's like not always perfect, but for when you don't know what the hell's going on, it was fucking ripper, eh?
Well, I mean, it makes it easier when you're ordering food and shit like that, bro, because you probably end up coming out with something real whack.
So bad. Yeah, bro. It was real handy, eh? Just having, like I say, like, I know how annoying it can be when want it because a tourist town, when someone comes and shoves their phone in your face sort of thing. So I just learned things like how to say, excuse me, can you help me? I'm lost or whatever. And then I'd get my phone out sort of thing. But because I know how rubbish it can be when someone's shoving their screen in your face. You're like, whoa, hang on.
Hold on a minute.
Yeah, pump the brakes.
So how long were you there for?
In Bolivia?
Yeah.
I think we were there for about maybe 10 or 12 days, and we were mainly in a city called La Paz, which was epic. It was such a cool city. It was like I say, real busy. Felt real authentic in that. It was a cool place. Like I think Bolivia would definitely be one of my when I go back, because I want to go back and do Central America, which is like Mexico and all that eventually. I want to drop into Bolivia again and see down in the south end there's more nature and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
So then from Bolivia, so we did our thing in the city and just like had a look around, and we actually have you heard of Death Road?
Nah, bro. I haven't. What happens there?
There's a road called Death Road in Bolivia. It used to be like, it's like a mountain pass. It's like it's just like basically you're on this like 1.5 lane road, all gravel road, and down on one side it's like
like just a cliff face.
Just a couple 100 meters cliffs and that, and like. There's obviously
I think I might have heard of it, bro.
Yeah, they did it. Top Gear did a show on it where they drove it as well, and we actually we mountain biked it, eh?
Oh, cool, bro. Yeah. You guys did heaps of cool shit over there.
Man,
how'd you come up with that idea? Have you seen other people do it, and you've been like, sweet, we'll do that.
Yeah, so like all the people over there, like say, everyone's finding ways to make dollars and that. So there's tour companies that you pay the equivalent of maybe like 50 New Zealand bucks, and you get a bike, you get transport, you get food, and they drive you out there. You bike the road and they drive you home, sort of thing.
How long's the road?
Oh, that's a good question, man. I'm not sure. It was like a few hours of biking. Like we were stopping, taking photos and that kind of thing. But it was and it was all downhill, obviously too. So that was.
So you just smash it downhill, and then what? You get a ride back home.
Yeah. So you just have there's a van that follows you and that with spare bikes if you get a flatty and stuff. So I popped a couple of tires and that, and they just give you a new bike sort of thing, and you stop along the way, take photos and whatnot, and then and then you just get to the bottom. The van picks you up and they drive you back to the city, which is cool.
So where does the road actually go to?
That's a good question, to be honest. I think it used to be used for when they were, from what they told us, it was actually made for harvesting what's called the coca leaves, which is the main ingredient in cocaine.
Yeah, I know what that is, I think.
Yeah. And so from what we could hear, it was mainly used as just a transport route for when they were farming coca leaves in the valley in that day. And it's a nasty road. Like it's, even now it was nasty. I'd hate to think what it was like years ago when it was real tight and there's barely no cars use it at all now. So I'd hate to think what it was like when it was, trucks coming one way and stuff like that.
And they used to push the limits back in the day, didn't they?
Man, it's just like, and over there, like I say, everyone's trying to make $1 to survive, and it's almost like they, it's horrible to say, but it's like they think it's, life's kind of disposable. People, one person dies doing the job, so they just get someone to fill the gap, sort of thing. It's just scary.
Yeah, that's a crazy outlook on life, and some of those countries do, bro. They've got a completely different look on it. And it's like, oh, well, we're gonna die one day, sort of thing. And it's like they're content with it.
Yeah. It's like I said, I think it's just so many people willing to do those jobs that, you can't be picky and choosy, so people are like, if I can get paid to drive this road, and do it safely, it's all good until it goes wrong, sort of thing, I guess.
But nowadays, I mean, once it goes wrong, they probably look at it and think, oh, we can, maybe we'll put some like railing down the side so that the cars don't tip.
Yeah.
Back in the day, it would be like a car would fall off and they'd be like, oh, well, we're going to need a new car.
Shit happens, yeah.
Yeah. On to the next.
Yeah.
So where'd you go after that?
So then another. So this is the thing. I just wanted to basically tick off as much cool shit as I could along the way. So we did. So from there, we did a 3-day.
So hold on a minute. You're only like 2 weeks into your extended trip so far, eh?
Yeah. So we've still got plenty of time at this point. So this is like roughly around like the halfway point sort of thing of the whole trip. And so then so plenty of time left, and there was just not even like any real like urgency or talk at all about the virus. At this point, the coronavirus hadn't even reached any of the countries in South America at all, and like there was just no talk of it at all at this point. So we were cruising, we were happy days, and so from there we did another probably just as mind-blowing that we did a 3-day 4-wheel drive trip through the Bolivian desert and into the north of Chile.
Oh, really?
Yeah, bro. It was so sick. It was like, so we're in the same thing, still high as up in the mountains, and we did this thing called the Uyuni Salt Flats, and it's exactly that. It's just one of those big salt flats that you've seen on like the world's fastest Indian, but it's
bro, old Uncle Bert.
But it's just this massive dry lake, and we went in rainy season, so there's about a couple of inches of water on this dried lake, and it
sits on top. Does it just sit on top of it?
Sits on top, bro, and it turns into this massive. They call it the world's biggest mirror, and it was so buzzy.
So, and what is it? Slippery or what?
Nah, it's so it's just salty, and it's just you're just walking around in gumboots and that, and it's fine, and it's just like a couple inches of water, and you look out to the horizon, bro, and it's like genuinely feels like you've like died and gone to heaven. Like it's just there's no horizon at all. It's just a massive reflection of the sky.
Wow! And how big is this place?
Huge. Like it like driving from one. So we drove out to the middle of the lake in just in a Land Cruiser sort of thing. It's the same thing. They've got these tours set up, so we just paid our money and they fed us and drove us around for 3 days and that, and yeah, so it took us probably like we drove like half an hour onto the lake and then took all our photos and stuff like that. Had a look around and played around in the salt water and whatnot, and then it was probably like another good 3 hours of driving to get off the lake on the other side. So it was massive, huge, like just dry bit of land, eh?
Really, that's crazy. And so all these little companies that are set up, are they like locals, or are they like Europeans coming in and like setting up businesses to make coin?
I think over in those countries they're pretty damn good at basically all of our tour guides were like locals in that day on all these things. A lot of them, they speak a bit of broken English. Some of them have got really good English, but all of our tour guides were in these places were pretty much local. I don't think they like people coming in and sort of setting up shop.
Yeah, nah, but yeah, I don't know. Seems to be a lot of Europeans. They're pretty smart. They'll go to like countries like this and set up, and then they'll just get a local to run it, and then
Yeah, I think potentially that's probably what a lot of them are like. But we're talking to most of the because I'd just ask them straight up. I'd be like, do you guys get paid well? And hardly any of them all that same thing. They kind of have the same attitude as me working on cars back here. It's like, I'd always love to get more money, but I'm happy with what I got, sort of thing. So they always just seem content, and because the exchange rate is so out of proportion, I'd give them, the equivalent of like 10 or 15 New Zealand bucks, and they'd just be chuffed, just give it to them as a tip, and because they deserve it, they're out there doing their thing and they're away from their families and stuff as well. So, a bit of respect.
Yeah, it goes a long way, bro. Especially something like that. You would have probably made his year. You know what I mean? It's not much to you, but it's a fucking lot to him.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And that's kind of the attitude I took around all those places was just that. It's if I can make someone happy just with something that doesn't worry me too much, I'm like, fuck it, go for gold.
Yeah, for sure, bro. It's the way you got to be. You can't just so the people that skimp out and don't give out that sort of stuff, give it a little, a couple extra dollars here and there.
Yeah.
Fucking they're rude as, bro.
Yeah. So exactly, man. And so we took that trip 3 days. So same thing though. We're like, we're not low down. We got up to we're full driving like 4,800 meters above sea level, and you could hear the Land Cruiser chuffing because it just had no oxygen in that day. It was just struggling up the hills and stuff. It was like far out. Yeah.
Is it hard to breathe up there?
It's fine if you just a lot of people do get affected by the altitude sickness and that. It's fine. I never got affected to it. It's fine if you're doing nothing. As soon as you start doing it, like I say, we've done the hike too and that, but as soon as you walk like 10 meters up a hill, you're huffing and you're just sucking wind, trying to get something in you. It's hard to do anything.
Yeah, no, that would suck, bro. I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Bit of altitude training for you?
Yeah, that's it, man. You come back bloody athlete.
Yeah. Well, that's why I assume that's why you went for a run before we did this.
That's right, mate.
Can't get enough of it.
No, the wind's like bloody soup, mate. It's so thick here compared to the thin oxygen over there.
So where'd you travel? Where were you going from there? And was you and your mate when you were doing this? Were you guys just cruising as? You didn't have any plan. You were just playing it by ear.
No plan at all. We had places that we wanted, obviously places that we wanted to go. So, but we didn't necessarily plan it. We just said, right, we're going to get here eventually, sort of thing. And we kind of ended up with a rough sort of route that we wanted to hit up, and just did it that way. But we were just, me and him, he was just the coolest guy to travel with. Me and him just nailed it. Just stayed off each other's case. We just wanted the same stuff and just kind of cruise. So it was, I was really appreciative to be traveling with a fella like that. It was so cool.
Yeah, it sounds like you're killing it over there, dude.
Yeah.
And then so we're halfway through your extra 8 weeks so far?
Yeah, so we're probably, I think at this point that we sort of had maybe like 4 or 5 weeks left of the trip. So we're still got plenty of time, sort of thing. And then we went. This was epic, bro. We went into Santiago in Chile, which is their capital, and at the end of last year, these massive riots kicked off there, and just protesting the cost of living and the tax and all that, and there's a lot of political unrest in those countries. There's people do feel hard done by and that sort of thing, and there's massive riots kicked off at the end of last year, and there's I can't remember the numbers, but there's somewhere around, like 20 or 30 people had died in them, and that so far is massive between the police and the police and the rioters and stuff like that, or protesters, I want to call them, not rioters as such. And so we got down there and we knew that things were a wee bit sketch and that, and we'd heard about the riots and we'd seen other people who had kind of seen videos of people getting hit with water cannons and stuff like that. We're like, oh fuck, I wonder, we started asking questions, and we asked our Uber driver, and he's like, yeah, Fridays are are the biggest day for the protests and that, and we arrived on a Friday. And and
well planned.
And we're like, oh yeah, this is it. And then we're like, where are they? And he's like, he told us where they were, and we're like, shit, we're like 6 blocks away from our hostel. We're like, this is epic. Like, let's go have a geeze at this. And so all of a sudden you hear the police sirens and that, and the air gets a bit tingly, and you're like, what's going on there? And it's all the tear gas. And we're like,
oh, what?
We're like, bugger this, bro. We're like, right, let's go down. And me and Connor booked it down to this main square where the riots go on, and we get there, and there's just thousands of people burning, fucking big fires and shit going on, burning stuff and all chanting, and then and we're like, we've kind of figured the police let it go on to a certain point, and then they disperse the crowd, sort of thing, when they got a plan. And so me and Connor, we're standing there, and all of a sudden I just like, bang, tear gas canister just lands like not far from us. Whole fucking face like just goes red, like I couldn't see, couldn't breathe. I was like, holy shit. Like, so we ran, and we're standing there like pouring water in our eyes, and they were like, holy fuck. And it was just like, what the fuck? Like, this is epic.
Wow. So you experienced it at its full force.
Bro, yeah, like
I feel like you've experienced quite a lot on this trip, bro. Like, at the peak of it.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly, man. And like, this was even like, so we're like, right, like, let's get back in there. And there's, like I say, everyone's over there making a buck any way they can. So across the road from the riots, there's a guy with a stall selling bandanas for the tear gas. And like, so we're like, sweet, rock over, bought like a $2 bandana, whacked it on our face, and boost back in. And there's like, I've got videos on my Instagram and that, man. There's so they're all like dressed up like in their gas masks and stuff, like all the protesters and that, with their backpacks and stuff. And there's like, they've got like medics and that. They've got like people who are specifically there to help if anyone gets injured. And like, you got the guys with big sledgehammers busting up the footpath, and then people collecting the bits of concrete in sacks, and they run it up to the front of the protest so that the guys at the front can throw it at the riot police.
What?
It was full.
What I don't understand here is, why the fuck is it planned? Like, why is it Friday? Oh, yeah, we'll do it Friday. Like, everyone knows to riot on Friday, and the police know that there's going to be a riot on Friday. That sounds like, I don't know, that doesn't sound right.
No, well, I guess that's almost the difference between, because I keep calling it a riot, but they are pretty clear over there that it's a protest, like so they plan it. So they go, right, we're going on a Friday and we're protesting, and that's how they just say it's a protest, because it is. That's what they, it's the cost of living. It's the, they have no support for like the elderly over there when they stop working, they don't get and so they're trying to make things better, sort of thing, for their way of living. And so that's it. They just go, it's a protest, and this is when we're doing it, and everyone come along.
And how long have they been doing these protests for? And have they seen any results from these protests, or are they just fucking this shit up, pretty much? Fucking up their footpaths. There's nowhere to bloody walk anymore.
Yeah, so they've been doing it since, I think, about November at this point. So it's been a few months on. And there was some of them that were huge. There was like, and it was not just in Santiago, it was all over Chile. I think at one point they said there was like, there was like hundreds of thousands of people in one of them. I don't know necessarily about results, but I guess they've just got to keep going until something happens. And
until they get the result. So they're still trying to get that result.
Yeah, madness. So.
It's a long time to be going protest. Well, I guess it's not that long to be protesting, but the way that sounds pretty full on to be happening every Friday.
Yeah, that's it. And I think I think Friday's the big day, but I do think by the sounds of it does happen other days too, where a few people just get together and do it, sort of thing. But yeah,
almost sounds like a hobby.
This is what we talked about, man. It got to a point where I think for a lot of them, and the police or the government kind of buggered themselves in the fact that it realistically turned into a routine for a lot of those people. Like, there were people there singing and dancing and playing guitars and drinking piss and that. Like,
it was an event.
It genuinely was, man. And but for the fact, like going there, I'm going, it was cool thing to experience. There's people that have literally lost their lives doing it. Like, this is big for them. Like, it's not just like, of course some of them are going to go and have a bit of fun in that, but I was like I definitely didn't let the seriousness of the situation slip me. Like, there's, like I say, there's people dying trying to make a better life for themselves over there, which is mad.
Yeah, for sure. You were just going over there to experience it and get, put yourself in their shoes, and that's fine, bro. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not here taking the piss out of it. But what about the taxi driver? Why wasn't he getting involved? Was he's I got to work, or is he just that he had a different perspective on it, or?
No, I think most people are in the same boat. I guess for a lot of them, at the end of the day, they're still got to feed their families, and a lot of them got to do their jobs and that. Like I get, in a lot of those countries over there, I don't want to jump to conclusions, but there are a lot of people that don't necessarily like work conventional jobs, or the stuff like that. So it's not hard for a few thousand people to just get together, because it's a big city that we were in. Santiago's a big city, so it's they just get together and try to do their thing, eh?
And how many people were there? You reckon there were about 2,000 people at this thing or more?
Yeah, probably. I'd say there could have been more, eh? Yeah,
that's huge.
Yeah, and like I say, back when it first kicked off, they had, I think one of the things I was reading, they had over 500,000 people. So we went. A
couple of people gave up on it by the sounds of that. Nah, it's not going. Nah, it's not going anywhere. I'm not going to go this week.
Actually, what one of the things that happened is the universities that were on break over that time over there as well. So people had gone back to their hometowns and that. But that's what, when we left, we were talking to them. I said, apparently in 2 weeks' time it's going to be massive again, because people are back in the city. It's
school
mainly
holidays.
School holidays, bro. It's like it's mainly a lot of those young people that rally for change and stuff like that.
Bloody riffraff.
Oh, I know, mate. Bloody all those youngins, eh? But yeah, so they're talking about they're just going to get back into it, and they've been saying that when they got back, they were going to do it bigger and better, because they weren't getting the result they wanted. So it'll be interesting to see what it's like. Well, not now, because everything's all on the piss, but I don't think they're going to give up. They were pretty dead set that they wanted a better way for their people. So it was interesting.
Fucking. So this is only your first night.
Yeah, this is my first night in Santiago. So I was like, holy hell, that's one for the books already.
Yeah, and was it a bit more calmer after that, the following couple of days, or did it live up to those expectations for the rest of the time?
It was we had a couple of good piss ups in that, in Chile as well, in Santiago as well. Like I don't think we were there for. I think we were only there for maybe 4 or 5 days. But other than that, it was like I say, it was pretty civil. But I could see, like, coming from Bolivia to Chile, like I said, when you cross those into a different country, you're literally in a different country. And Chile was probably like 4 times the price of Bolivia, and it was like, like I say, all you've done is cross a bit of land. So I was like, they were just saying, like their public trans. Was
the living different? Like, for the prices to be 4 times more expensive or whatever, was it a better living there for them, or nah?
I'd say it was hard, because, like I say, because La Paz is it was more developed. It was definitely more developed, and like it seemed like there was possibly more opportunity and stuff like that. However, they were just saying that they were just getting pillaged on like the price of living in the city and stuff like that. And apparently all over Chile it was the same. They were protesting all over the country. So it was hard, because I didn't really know what the general like price of things might have been in the past or whatever. I just kind of paid, and I was going, it's more expensive than the last country I was in, but it's still, for me, I was still going, it's still probably like only 2/3 of the price of back home, but I didn't know what they earned or stuff like that. So
yeah. So it's a hard one to work out.
Yeah.
So did anything else go on there, or you keep it pretty relaxed after that and move on to your next destination?
Kept it pretty relaxed. There was you could tell, like I say, I don't know if it was to do with the fact that like the living in that was more expensive and people didn't have money or what, but we did watch a couple of guys get mugged. Like on the
just filmed it. Fuck, look at this.
You can't do shit, bro. Like they come in like groups like 15, 20 and they just beat the shit out of someone, or they hold someone down and take the shit. It's like you literally can't do anything about it. You can't get involved. And same thing in Bolivia. There was a guy leaning up against a lamppost who was absolutely hammered, and I watched a guy just walk up and stare straight at me, grab his wallet out of his pocket and just boost. And I was like, holy shit. I was like, you gotta, like, there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do, bro. Like, you could go after him. You could.
I guess because you're in a foreign country too, you don't know the extent of it either. Like you don't know what the fuck else is going on behind that.
That's right, Ron. I like to think, I don't know if it's just me trying to look on not like necessarily a silver lining, but, I like to think that when those people are doing that kind of thing, it's because they really need it. It's like, I don't like to just go, yeah, I don't just like to go, oh, he's crooked. I was going, maybe that fella needs to feed his kids, and it's not the right way to do it, but it might be his only option at that time. You just don't know, eh?
Yeah, that's. I think that's a pretty good way to look at it.
Yeah,
you're definitely taking a positive out of that one.
Yeah. Like at the same time, there's just people out there that are assholes as well, and there's probably a lot of that going on.
Oh, bro, for sure. They're everywhere though. They're not. You know what I mean? They're everywhere. Upper class, lower class.
Yeah, it's everywhere, man. And that's it. I don't feel necessarily any more unsafe than something like Dunedin, Auckland, even Wanaka. Heck, anyone can fucking punch you and steal your shit. It doesn't matter where you are.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So, did you see anything else look like corrupt like that over there?
Not.
Sounds like it was pretty full on here, bro.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of full on shit going on, and like I say, for them it's probably a lot of like normal. But yeah, there's just a lot of that kind of that petty stuff. I don't think anyone's out there. They don't really want to hurt anyone as such. They don't want blood on their conscience sort of thing. But like I say, a lot of like mugging, pickpocketing. Like we met a lot of people in the hostels that had their phones pickpocketed and wallets pickpocketed and stuff. So we were just real careful. Keep your hands on your pockets, or I actually had an old phone that I took over when I went on nights out. So if it got taken, I'd be like, oh, fuck, I don't care. So just stuff like that was quite handy.
And it didn't get stolen? You were one of the lucky ones?
No, one of the lucky ones.
They've probably seen it and they're like, fuck, we don't want that piece of shit.
Yeah, I think so. I was like,
Nokia 2280, no way.
Mate, you can't beat it. You can't beat a 2280.
No, you can't.
I've actually got
protesting.
I thought I had one of those somewhere here as well. I've probably got it hanging out. I don't know where it is.
I'd hold on to that, mate. That'll be worth money one day.
I still play Snake on it.
Yeah. Oh, it's fully charged.
Yeah, it's all good.
Oh, yeah. So and after that, where did you go to?
I took a bus over to Argentina from there. So pretty much just a straight hit across a mountain range into Argentina, which was cool. So so we went into started off in a place called Mendoza, which is so this is the other thing too. So up until this point, we found the food in each country to be completely different as well. And me and Connor are pretty, avid meat eaters sort of thing. We're like, right, pretty keen on some good food in there. The food in a lot of those places was rubbish. And in Peru was actually quite nice. They had really nice food in that, and we got to try alpaca and guinea pig, which was pretty cool.
Oh,
yeah,
nice. Yeah. What did that taste like? Give me alpaca first, bro, because I like alpacas. They're cool animals.
I love them too,
but
man.
I'm not against eating them because I feel at the end of the day, it's weird that we can pick and choose what animals we're going to eat and which animals we're not going to eat. So
as long as you don't eat a bat.
Yeah, well, I'm all for that as well, to be honest.
Just make sure it's clean.
But yeah, so what did alpaca taste like?
Epic. It was
good.
Good, man. Instantly rocketed, I'd say, into probably my top 3 meats. So I was like, that's fucking brilliant. I don't know. It's hard to explain. It was I think it was a wee bit more it was somewhere kind of between steak and venison sort of thing. It was a wee bit gamey and just nice, just a nice smooth red meat. Hey, it was wicked. So good.
And what'd you have it in? What'd you have it as?
So first place we went to this place where they did stews, which was just so good.
An alpaca stew.
Alpaca stew, yeah, and a guinea pig stew. So it was
that sounds
just
good,
it was so good, man.
So naughty, but so nice.
Over there, it's just normal way. they have massive alpaca farms, and it's just all part of what they do. So I was like, yeah, I'll get amongst this. And so alpaca, like I say, boom, like probably top 3 meats. And then guinea pig was a bit different. It was quite like a fatty wee creature, and wee bit like greasy, kind of almost like a muttony kind of feel.
And was this a grain fed guinea pig?
I'm not sure. All I know
free
is
range.
It was feeding me.
Yeah. Bloody hell! And what did this come as a stew as well?
Yeah. They just pretty much just the whole thing, just dump it in there and stew it up, and it was they just had Peru was really good for food. They were killing it.
Far out.
Yeah.
And they're the only animals that you've they ate that were off limits in most countries?
The exotic ones, I think so. I can't think of anything else off the top of my head. Like, no, I think it's just pretty much just those two. There's probably other ones that I didn't know about. I probably got sold to me as something else.
Yeah, but that's all right.
It's all part of it.
Yeah, you got to roll with those ones, bro. You're never gonna know.
Yeah. And so that's when. So when we crossed over into Argentina, they're known as like one of the steak and wine capitals of the world, and we're like, oh yeah, fuck yeah, this is a bit of ass. So instantly get over there, bro, and we just go to these they're like a big all-you-can-eat grill sort of thing. You just pay your money, and you just sit there, and they'll just feed you steak all night until you can't eat anymore. And we're like, at that point, after eating shit meat in like Colombia and Bolivia, and that we're like, just fucking give me something decent. And they knew how to cook it too, which is epic.
And how much did it cost for you to get this wining and dining over there? What was did you pay a one-off price and then? Yeah.
So I can't quite remember the price like the alpaca and that. Like I think it was. No.
We've had enough of the alpaca. I mean the all you can eat steak.
Exactly, bro. So like I think it was like, so this is like quite like up there, like expensive over in Argentina. I think we paid the equivalent of about 25 New Zealand dollars, and it was just all you can eat, just big fat steaks basically, and just different meats. So they had porks and that as well, and just kept bringing a hot plate, and they just say, do you want more? You go, yeah mate, send it through.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
That's crazy that they just will they come down to your table and be like, hey, do you guys still want any food? And then they'll go out the back and cook it up, or they've already got it on tap and they're ready to just shoot it out?
They're pretty much just like pretty much shooting it out. There's a few tables in that round, so they just have stuff on the go, and they'd come around carrying the hot plate and go, you want anything off here? You go, yep, I'll have 2 of those and 1 of those sort of thing, and they just keep kind of circling around with free shares, nice food.
So is that's wicked. I wish they did that sort of stuff over here.
That's the thing though. If you did it back here, it'd probably be like $80. So
yeah, true. Right over here, it'd be expensive as.
Yeah, man.
It would be super expensive. What was the quality of the steak like?
Pretty good, eh? I was more than happy. I was chuffed. Yeah.
Man, that's next level. So is this Argentina? From Argentina, did you go to Peru after Argentina, and that's when?
No, almost. We did there not much to talk about from that point on. Like we went over on a boat to Uruguay for a couple of days, and then come back. It was just so we could say we'd done it, sort of thing, and it was cool to see the difference. And then there wasn't really anything much to talk about from there, sort of thing. But it was still a cool place. And then we flew back to Bolivia at that point. Flew back to La Paz because we were. That's where we were going to start I think it was about 14 or 16 day bus trip from La Paz to Lima, where we were going to fly back home from. So, and at this point, this is when the virus had just hit South America, and this is when the country was just saying, people need to get home and rah. So at this point, we'd started looking at changing our flights, and we were like, right, this is getting a wee bit serious, and we'd made phone calls and that, and the general consensus was that there's no panic, and that we only had just over 2 weeks left, just to see it out, and we'd go sort of thing. So we're like, right, we ended back in Bolivia, and we started doing the first leg of our bus trip, and just dropping in, seeing like really cool places and stuff like that, and.
So you ended up going ahead with the bus trip, and that's this is a 16-day trip.
16-day trip, and like I say, at that point we'd started. It was known that the virus was in South America, but it wasn't very widespread, and so we'd been asking questions on if we should be coming home earlier and stuff like that. Yeah.
And they said, "Nah, it's fine. Do your trip, and you'll make it home safe."
Yeah, like that's kind of thing. Yeah, like our travel agent was like, and she was great. She said, like at this point, they are telling people to get home, but just do your thing. And I love the cup, mate. Is that an alpaca on the cup? Is it?
Bro, it is.
It's golden.
Jeez, I bet that's got your lips fucking watering.
Yeah, yeah, far out. That's bringing me flashbacks to that good stay. See how quick I was to spot that.
Oh, bro, that is so priceless. That's not even my cup either, bro. That's my missus' cup. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to crank that today. Fucking perfect. That is
knew it was
perfect.
happening.
Oh. So, so hold on. With this trip, what you were driving all day in a bus, and then you'd sleep on the bus, you'd sleep at a hostel, and then keep driving, or what? How does that?
So it was 16 days in total, but there was so we were stopping along the way. So we'd do some buses go overnight, some buses go during the day, sort of thing. And there was a whole bunch of different stops on the way. And so we stopped at one place and we'd stop there for a couple of days, and then you go to the next one for a day, or you'd skip through and go to the next spot, sort of thing. So it was you could just hop on and hop off, sort of thing. And they had buses flying all the time, so you could just kind of cruise it. But we had 16 days left to get to Lima, where we were flying back to New Zealand from. So we just kind of planned it out and left enough time so that we could do some of the shit we wanted to do, which was cool. Yeah.
And then halfway through the bus trip, you thought, oh, this is
yeah. So this is where it all went. So we were, like I say, at this point we were calling and asking questions and going, should we get home earlier? And the general consensus was no. And then
who were you calling? You were just calling your
just calling back home, talking to my travel agent and talking to family and friends, and then just going, because a lot of the time we're off the grid too, the Wi-Fi was terrible, so all you'd do is send a message, and on your way you wouldn't be seeing all the news articles and that kind of thing, and so we missed out on a lot of information in that. And
well, you're on holiday, you don't need any of that outside stuff, eh? You're there to soak in what's around you.
Yeah, exactly, man. So we we started this bus trip, and we could tell things were getting a wee bit more serious, and we're like, okay, right, and we started the same thing. Then we started really going look, let's just try change our flights. Let's get there a few days earlier, get out of here, that sort of thing. And then we were sitting at this hostel one day at the bar at 11 at night, and all of a sudden we start seeing people leaving with their bags, and we're like, oh, maybe it's just an overnight bus, and then we start seeing people really leaving with their shit, and we're like, oh fuck, this is what's going on here? And we asked a couple of questions, and someone's like, oh yeah, the president of Peru's just come online and said that everyone's got 12 hours to get out of the country. They're shutting the borders completely in 12 hours, and we're like, oh shit.
What the fuck? So you had no initial idea that anything like this was happening?
Nothing.
You were still pretty relaxed. You were still on holiday.
Still on holiday. Like I say, we were trying to change our flights to get home a few days earlier because we knew things were getting a wee bit funky, and so we're like, but then all the planes got booked up, and so we couldn't change. So we just stick with our original flights, and then so we from there we were sitting at the hostel. We ran, grabbed our shit, chucked it in a bag. We managed to catch the last bus out of that town at 1 a.m. And we're like, right, gun it. And so we got on this bus, got through to Lima, and then went to the airport. So we're like, right, we need to get out of here, and flight paths were getting canned, so it made it really hard. Buenos Aires shut down, all within just like that, bro. And we're like, oh shit. And then so we got to the airport, and we show up, and there's probably 3,000 people at this airport, and they're just standing the riot police are there blocking the doors. You couldn't go into the airport unless you had a boarding pass, and we're like, holy shit, we're just there with thousands of people, and we're calling back home, we need to book flights anywhere, we need to get out of here, and we looked at flights, bro, flights that had cost us maybe $150 a few weeks beforehand. The same flights are up at like $3,500, and we're like, oh shit! We're like, what the hell is going on here? I just couldn't believe it, and we'd like buy flights and they get cancelled. We're like just trying everything we could to get out, and we're like, in the end we just gave up. We just like, we just can't go, and we just went and checked into our hostel, and there was other people in the same situation. We're just like, what here? What now?
So you caught this bus, and that bus took you to the airport?
Took us to our hostel, and then we grabbed a taxi from the airport. Yeah.
All right, and tried to go there, tried to fly out, couldn't get out, and now you've reverted back to your hostel. So what? They just weren't letting people in. You couldn't even go in there to talk, to try and book a flight.
No, unless the right police were blocking all the doors to the airport. Unless you had a boarding pass already, you couldn't go in. And it was just like I say, like that was the point where I was like, there's just the systems that just aren't the same there, and the fact that, say you've got a virus spreading and you don't want to spread it, you don't cause panic and get like 4,000 people to stand at an airport together, sort of thing. But they just don't think of it the same, so they just shut everything down to try and just stop things from spreading. But you've got people standing, breathing on each other and shoulder to shoulder, and it's like, oh man.
When you were trying to get in there and get into the airport, were people just going bananas? Was it like another riot?
Nah. That's the thing over there is, a lot of their authority is to do with like fear, So I'm saying they got riot police there, but then they've got guys standing with machine guns, and it's like whether they're gonna, they're not going to stand and just open fire on a crowd sort of thing, but people are wary, it's military run stuff.
They got guns for a reason.
Yeah, exactly, man.
Yeah, no shit. And then so you went back to the hostel. Were there many people left at the hostel?
Yeah. Our hostel was pretty full to start with. I'd say there's probably maybe like 70 people. I'd say somewhere around there.
And are these people from all over the world, obviously?
All over the world. So we had like people from the States. Probably over half of our hostel was full of Germans. I just don't know if that's
Germans. The Germans are coming.
Yeah, I just don't know. I don't know if that's just the way it worked out or what, but just people from everywhere, everywhere, all over the world. So yeah, we're just like, right, like we kind of just laid it, held onto a shred of hope that maybe that Peru had made like a hasty decision, and then in a couple of days they're going to go, right, you can leave the country, but you can't come in. That would have made sense. You can leave to go home, but you can't come in. Nah. They just went, fucking, this is it, man. Bang. You can't leave, you can't come in, and that's it. And we're like, oh, shit. And so we'd started at that point, like, instantly started emailing, like, the New Zealand embassy over there and just asking questions. We're like, what's the go here? And they're just like, look, we don't really know. You're just going to have to hold tight sort of thing. And we'll just let you know when we find out more info. And we're like, oh, that's mad. We're just kind of sitting here just waiting see if anything comes through from it, eh?
Yeah, did you have other Kiwis in the hostel with you, or was it just you and your mate?
Luckily, there was actually another Kiwi couple in there with us, so that was kind of cool. It was actually very helpful at the time, eh? Like, we were obviously, but to be fair though, I think she was an Aussie from there. I can't quite remember. So they actually had the option to go into Australia as well. So they had a couple of ways out, but they were wanting to go to New Zealand, which is cool. So it was nice having a kind of a group of us to keep each other level-headed.
Yeah, because I'd say that having that pressure on you and not knowing what's going on, it make your mind do crazy things, especially knowing that you're stuck there and that you can't even get out. Yeah,
it was like I say, it was still like the first like week, even after we'd heard that, you're like, because say that happened in New Zealand, there'd be a bit of logic to it, and they go, oh, you can sort of, we'll loosen the reins and we can let people out and that sort of thing. But so you're like, surely they'll just let us out, because that's what I was used to. But no, it was just, it got up to like a week, then we're just like, oh shit, this is like real. This is like real sort of thing. Eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then some panicky stuff started setting in, like things got weird pretty quick. Like we were getting like messages from people who we'd met traveling, and they were going, is your hostel letting people in? We've just been kicked out of our hostel by the police, because they're calling it a gathering, and we've got nowhere to stay. We're trying to get an Airbnb, and we're like, that's when it got mad. We're like, where's the logic in that?
And so, how far out? So all this shit took place.
Yeah.
You weren't allowed at the airport. How long were you actually stuck there for?
In Peru.
Yeah.
I think it ended up working to be about 3 weeks in our hostel. 2 or 3 weeks.
So you're only like 3 days into being in your hostel at this point in time when other people were starting to get kicked out of their hostels and done for being in gatherings.
Yeah. I'd say probably maybe it was definitely within the first week. Like they were getting kicked out of their hostels and then, and we're just like, luckily, like I'm so grateful. I do think we were in probably the best hostel we could have been in the whole city, because our hostel was actually
you didn't get kicked out.
No, yeah. We were on a rooftop, bro, so no one could see into our hostel from the high rises, whereas the other hostels were on the ground level, so all the apartment high rises could see in, and I think people were reporting them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so madness, eh?
So what? When they were messaging you, did you send them back and say, "Yeah, we're free, you can come here," or how'd they deal with it?
No, because it kind of got to. So our hostel had to our hostel was great. The staff were epic, man. They were so good to us, and like they kept us well informed. They were doing everything they could to keep us, happy and safe and that. But our hostel wasn't letting anyone check in for obvious
for safety reasons, I guess.
Yeah, for health reasons and that. Then we can understand that, but there was still at that time you could still kind of get Airbnbs, but it was just really hard because there was no transport in the cities, so you had to try to find one close. Like the people had to try to find one close to them so they could just walk there, sort of thing.
Yeah. And when you were messaging the embassy, New Zealand embassy and stuff, what were they sending you back? What was their advice?
At the start, it was kind of like I could kind of understand at the start because everything was all messed up and they didn't have the direct answers, which was fair enough. But once things started getting bad, we were telling them, we're like, look, man, we need some help here, sort of thing. And they were just saying, look, they literally said to us, hunker down and get prepared to borrow money if you don't have any. Be prepared to borrow money from your family and friends. And we're just like, what? And they're like, yeah, you could be there for anywhere up to 3 months. And we're like, what the fuck?
So they obviously didn't know the seriousness of this virus, or they were just downplaying it.
I don't think it was necessarily the virus. I think it was the fact that it was more they maybe, they just didn't really know what to do, or they just probably didn't realize the seriousness of, like I say, people getting kicked out of their hostels, and they're like, what happens if we get kicked out? Like, what do we do? Like I say, at this point, we were 3 days from flying home, and my bank account was looking pretty grim at that point because I've been traveling for 3 months. So I was like, I was like, fuck, like even like living life and not doing, all these activities and shit. 3 months of living still not going to be cheap. Like, buying food and whatever else you might need. And then I was like, shit, like this is going to get rad, eh?
Yeah, no shit. So what? You just kicked back in the hostel and let it all pan out, or because I don't know, I feel like you sort of took like a bit of control of it with posting all that stuff up on the internet.
Yeah. So what happened is we eventually caught wind. So someone set up a New Zealanders stuck in Peru Facebook page, and it was like 60, 70, 80 people on there, sort of thing. And then we all caught wind of this. There was this flight that was getting put on to fly to Sydney. At this point, then there's things called there was some flights, they started loosening the reins a little bit and letting countries come pick up their people, but it was very specific. You had to go through the military base and so the Germans come and took a plane load away, and half of our hostel left, and that was pretty crazy. And then the Americans started getting picked up by the American government and stuff like that. And then a Aussie company put on a flight. They worked with the government and put on a flight to Sydney. And it was fucking $5,800 for a seat to get to Sydney, and we're like,
at this point, so fucked. Don't you think it's so fucked up that at a time like this, where people need help, they go and hike the prices up because they know that people need the help?
It was nasty, and they had their reasons, look, you're essentially paying for a return ticket because the plane has to come there and back. And we're like, yeah, we understand that, sort of thing, but you know, like, and I can understand there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes, but I was like, that's fucking pricey. I was like, but we just bit the bullet, and we bought two seats on it. We're just like, we have to do it. And so, you know, we're just like, right.
Bro, that is so expensive. Was it a big plane that they sent over? I mean, if there's 80 people there, what it was?
Well, so this was actually a plane for the Australians. This wasn't even for the Kiwis, but they said, they said, yep, we'll pick up Kiwis, and we're like, sweet, like that's good for us if we want to take it. And we just bit the bullet, and we're like, yep, no worries. And well, no worries. We're like, yeah, we'll just do it. And all set to go. Like, we're like, yep, they'd been emailing us. They got a confirmation. They took our money. And then 2 days out from that plane coming to pick us up, got an email saying, we're sorry, but all the Kiwis have been booted off the plane due to, there's a rule. So there's a rule between Australia and New Zealand that if you land, say if we landed in Sydney on Wednesday, we have to leave on Wednesday. It's not 24 hours, it's the same day. And they said that because there was no flight to go from Sydney to Auckland, we couldn't do it legally. So they said, no, sorry, we're giving you your money back, we're canning you off the flight, sort of thing. And we're like, fuck, like this was our only way out. And we're just like, this is mad.
Who the fuck makes these rules? Surely they can bend them.
Well, that's what and that's what we thought too. We're like, surely there's a bit of leeway in like a time like this sort of thing. And they just said, no, we can't. Like,
rules are rule.
Yeah, rules are rules. We're gonna.
We're not breaking them for anyone.
Nah. So we got booted off this flight, bro, and I instantly, like I said, that was like a golden ticket out. I instantly like jumped into like get me the fuck out of here mode. This is where we all went tits up. So I rang my travel agent. I was like, is there any flights from Sydney to Auckland on this day? And she's like, yes, there is. And I emailed the guy back. And I was like, you need to put me back on this flight. All of the Kiwis back on the flight. There's a company doing a flight from Sydney to Auckland on that day. And he's like, nah. He's like, it's not happening. They've told me it's not happening. I was like, I emailed them. They said that flight's taking off. And he's like, nah, I'm not putting you guys back on the plane. Not taking the risk. Rah. Fucking. So I was like, shit, can't do anything about it. Woke up the next day, the day that the flight left, from an apology email from the guy running this company saying, I'm sorry, there was a miscommunication. That flight that you told me was taking off did take off from Sydney to Auckland. You should have been on that plane. And I was just like, fucking seeing red, eh? So I was stuck in Peru.
Bro, and that's a pretty hectic stuff up. How
did he
stuff that up from his end? You gave him all the information. Realistically, you handed it to him, and he just chose to ignore it.
Yeah, I've got all the messages. And that he's just like, no. I talked to their general manager. He says that plane won't leave the ground. And I was like, well, I've got confirmation from my travel agent that plane's taking off. And he just wouldn't have a bar of it. He just stopped texting me, and I was like, you're kidding. And then the plane was sitting at the airport in Peru, and we were sitting in our hostel, and we got an email saying, yeah, sorry, you should have been on it, sort of thing. We're like, that's major. Like, that's a big fuck up.
That is a big one, bro.
Fuck up.
I mean, at least he sent you an apology. He could have ignored you.
No fucking good to me.
Yeah, nah. So obviously then you were seeing red, and is this when? What happened from there? Like, because I know, is this when you put that post up on Facebook?
Yeah.
And this is what I seen, because what it felt like to me was when I seen that. As soon as I seen, like, I read probably like the first paragraph.
Yeah, it was a long.
I was like, I read the start of it, but I chose not to read the whole thing because I knew that I wanted to have you on here and talk about it. Yeah. But I just from the first paragraph, I knew that you'd sort of taken control and you'd taken matters into your own hand. Where did you go from there?
So basically, I banged up a huge post on Facebook and just exactly that, just laying out everything that we were stuck in Peru, things were getting unsafe. We essentially just, at that point, we're like, this golden ticket we had to get to Australia got stripped from us. And I was like, I need to, at this point, like, there had been other interviews with like other Kiwis in Peru, but I was like, I need to kick my ass into gear because I need to get home now. Like, this is getting a bit scary. Banged up a massive post on Facebook and made it public, and then got all of my mates to share it. So, had like 500 or 600 people, I think, share it. And then eventually, like, people from the media started seeing it just popping up on Facebook, and I started getting a big flood of like reporters from New Zealand, like Stuff and NZ Herald and Radio NZ, and that they would message me on Facebook, and then I'd do a Skype interview on that with them, and I did seven interviews on the day that I put up that post.
Really?
Yeah, and I think, like I say, there have been other stories at that point, but I think that kind of got the ball rolling for us, and I was like, right, like I went from feeling like low lows on that day, knowing I should be on that plane, to ending the day knackered, but having a bit of hope, being like, right, I reckon that we could have something going here. And it was pretty much like it, just taking a wee bit of matters into my own hands as much as I could at that time, sort of thing.
Yeah, and so what were you? You were you on the news in New Zealand, or were these interviews just with? Yeah, you're all over the news.
Yeah, I had an NZ Herald article, Stuff article, was on TV1, stuff like that. I was like, oh God, like I didn't like it, but it was at the time it was what needed to be done.
Yeah, for sure. And once that happened, did that get the ball rolling a wee bit, and did it get any of the higher power to come help you out, or?
So our situation kind of went a bit haywire from there for me and Connor personally. So what happened is so I went to bed that night. I was knackered, and then the next day I woke up to my roommate in the hostel fucking shaking me in bed, and I was like, "Oh, the fuck, Diego, what are you up to, Chief?" And he's like, "Oh, bro," because so this is the day there was a flight going to the UK with the UK embassy. Yeah. And so about 10 or 12 people had left from our hostel to catch that back to London. And he shakes me awake and he goes, "Oh, bro, grab your bags. You need to get to the military base. There's 20 seats on a flight to London. It's first come, first served." And I was like, "What?"
Oh, what?
I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "No, I'm on the phone to one of the chicks now. She's telling you guys to get there." And so I run up, grab Connor. I'm like, "Bro, just grab your shit. Let's go." And so we're like we're just sitting there going, what the fuck is going on here? Like, so we just grabbed our bags, jumped in a taxi, and we had documents that had been sent to us. You had to show them. So on the way to the airport, every single intersection had military, like army guys standing there, and you had to show your travel document to show that you had a flight out, or else you weren't allowed to travel in taxis and that. And they'd just be standing with their guns, and you'd show them, and they'd look you up and down and just give you a nod, and you go to the next intersection, there'd be another one, and got to the military base, and yeah, they're like, "Yep, we got your flight. There's a seat for you guys to London if you want. It's going to cost you about 500 New Zealand bucks." And we're like, "Yeah, make it happen." So we just rung it up and jumped on a plane to London. It was just like kind of just massive change of going from having nothing and like feeling trapped to being like, I'm going to Europe for my first time.
Yeah. So how come if you were able to just fly over to there, but you weren't able to get on any of the other planes?
I don't know, bro. I honestly have no idea. Like, I know that like the flight to Germany, the German government was taking like people to Germany so they could fly to like Israel, and taking people to Germany so they could fly to like Finland and closer countries and that. So I don't know if it's just because, New Zealand and England have such a good, thing going on, sort of thing. But yeah, we
definitely worked in your favour though, by the sounds of that.
God save the Queen.
So yeah, bloody oath, bro. That's something that you needed when you're in a time of crisis like that. It didn't sound like you're in a good way anyway while you're stuck over there and not being able to get out. So getting woken up to news like that, I'm sure you were over the fucking moon.
Yeah, Ryan. Bloody typical. I've been backstabbed by the Aussies, which is pretty standard. Saved
bro, don't
English,
be like that.
Saved by the English.
Oh yeah.
But no,
so,
it was just good timing.
You got family over there, or what happened once you got over to? Where'd you fly into? London.
Yeah, flew into London. I was pretty lucky, bro. I did actually have cousins over. I have cousins who live in London, so messaged them and just said, look, they knew what was going on, sort of thing at that point, and I messaged them and they said, yep, we'll pick you up from the airport, and so we flew into Gatwick Airport, and so this is where it kind of got a bit scary again. We've been told getting on that plane, so we're sitting at the military base in Peru trying to find flights from London to New Zealand, and we've been told that there was all the flights from London to New Zealand were booked, and that they were stopping on the 17th, and that there was a good chance that we could get stuck in London for God knows how long. But it's still better than Peru, obviously, you know. So we're like, yeah, fuck it, like let's just go, sort of thing, and yeah, so but we ended up actually getting picked up by my cousins. Had a few celebratory drinks and that, and a good barbecue and that, which was quite handy, well needed. And then, bro. And then we managed to, as soon as we got there, we actually managed to book a ticket out the next day to Auckland from London. So fucking just kind of.
Oh, so what? You're only there for a day. You only ended up being in London for a day, and then shot straight back home.
24 hours, bro. First time in Europe. I was there for 24 hours, and just. So
far out. So after you hit the news, you're pretty much straight back home. Yeah, and you've made it home safe and sound. You didn't even need to do those interviews.
Nah, it kind of felt like that a bit, and then like it kind of like it was great that we got out, and I was feeling feeling awesome about it. But then once we got to London, and I was like, oh, we're actually in a different country. I was sitting there going, fuck, we need to get these other, 80 Kiwis or more out of there as well. They're still stuck. Like, just because I'm out doesn't mean that they're not there, sort of thing. And so,
oh, no way, bro. Yeah.
Yeah. So then we just started still hammering, just going, we need a, and I had better internet and stuff like that. So I was like hammering away at still trying to get a bit of traction and trying to get things done. And then, from stayed in London 24 hours. Booked it back to New Zealand, and then same thing, just kept the acid on, and then eventually, I think it was not long after we got back, got an email from the New Zealand embassy saying, yes, we're going to put a flight on for the New Zealanders, but again, it's going to be $5,800, and we're like, and we had got from Peru to London to New Zealand for I think about 3,300.
Right.
So we were just at that point where I was just counting my lucky stars, just going, man, the best for a shit situation.
So you pretty much helped everyone else get their flights out of there.
I definitely I'd say it was definitely like a group effort sort of thing, and everyone was hammering the media and that, but I felt like on that one day that I managed to get those interviews and that, I think a lot of people had maybe not realize the seriousness of the situation, or the fact that we people were going, oh, just get a flight and leave, and we're like, no, you don't understand that you can't physically leave. No one can understand the fact that you couldn't leave Peru at that point, because no other country had done that apart from, I can't remember where at that point had said that you can't leave. Everyone else was letting people leave but not come in, sort of thing, unless they were citizens.
I don't think anyone really understood the extent of even the virus itself, bro. Everyone was obviously Peru shut themselves down, but it sort of just came in stages, bro. And it was like, oh, there's a virus overseas, and then as soon as it came to Australia or whatever, it was like that's when shit hit the fan here, and shit hit the fan everywhere once it was already there.
Yeah. No one, you like to say that no one acted quick enough, or they could have done this, they could have done that, but fucking nearly everyone fucked it, and it was because, like you say, it was, you can't just, imagine going, oh, we're going to shut down our economy, and then it comes to nothing. Can you imagine that would just flatten a country? So people had to, every country had to take it in their stride, and now, there's a million things you'd change if you could look back, but it's, you just can't, it's just, yeah.
When you came from Peru to London, did they not try chuck you in a couple of weeks isolation or anything like that, or were they not doing that there at that time?
Not doing it at that time, eh? So when we got to London, we literally just walked out of the airport and onto the street. At that time they
were pretty blasé about it as well.
Super blasé, bro. They didn't even ask us our plans. I just scanned my passport in the customs thing, grabbed my bags, and they asked bugger all. They just, have you got a cough? Are you sick? You got a temperature? Nah, on your way, sort of thing. And we're like, whoa. We're like, okay. And and then on our way back to Auckland the next day.
And once you made it to Auckland, New Zealand would have had implemented isolation there, though.
Yeah, Yeah, that was when
Big time?
Yeah. So we got picked up at the airport on a bus. All our temperature checked. Had to fill out, a big form and that about our health and where we've been and all that kind of thing. Picked up by a bus, driven to a hotel, and they gave us each a hotel room and just said, right, this is you for the next 2 weeks, sort of thing. We're going to feed you and home you for free, but it's pretty strict, and it was pretty. To be perfectly fair, the food was mean, like the hotel was mean, and that, like, for what it could have been, I was just happy to be home, bro. Like at that point.
Yeah, I bet, bro. It would have been just like relief, bro. Absolute relief making it home after that. After not being able to leave the country, and then it all happening in 2 days, and you've blinked and you're fucking back at home. That would have been an amazing feeling.
Yeah, bro.
Once you got back here, how long did you? I mean, not here. I'm in Australia.
Yeah.
Back to New Zealand. Fucking. How long were you in isolation for? Was it just a 2-week period?
Yeah, so 2 weeks. So first week was all right. So the hotel we were in was right beside Ellerslie Racecourse, the horse race track, and so they would let us sign out of our hotel room for like an hour a day, go down and walk or run around the racecourse and come back, sort of thing, and do all the hand sanitizer, blah blah blah, which was great. It was keeping us fairly sane and all that kind of thing. And then naturally, all it takes is one buckwit to ruin it for everyone. One fella, instead of going to the racecourse, went to his mate's house and they found out about it. And they're like, right, that's it. You can't leave the hotel. You can only go into the car park. And we're like, oh, you're kidding.
Peanuts, bro. There's people out there that just, like, yeah, I get that some people are going to be like, oh, this is a crock of shit. But at the end of the day, it's not. And you've got to take these precautions. That's why they're in play. So follow the fucking rules. And then everyone else could have been out fucking running around the horse paddock. And you got fucking this peanut goes down to his mate's house. And what, you can't even leave the car park?
It's a lot, right. You can't leave the car park. And the car park was probably kind of like just a strip of road. And it was probably, I'd say maybe 80, 100 meters long, sort of thing. Not even. Oh, no, not even. No, it would have been like 50 to 70 meters long, sort of thing. And trying to walk bloody a few k's, just laps of this car park was just mundane. It was so boring.
How many hours a day were you allowed out?
They pretty much just said, look, like, we're not going to keep you cooped up, but we do want you guys to be in your rooms as much as possible. And they're like, aim for 1 hour a day out of the room, sort of thing. But like, that's kind of fair enough, like, it just was what it was at that point. Like I said, I was just happy to be back, and I was just like, but it was, it almost felt like rehab after having sort of cheap piss, cheap gear, fucking, it was like, it's a no piss, no gear. You're in like a white walls. You're just sitting there going, I feel like I'm in a mental hospital, eh?
Yeah. Probably fucking needed it.
Oh yeah, it was good for the body. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. And when you were out in the car park and stuff, did you have to do like social distancing? You have to keep your space between each other, and were they big on that?
Yeah, huge on it, because obviously we were viewed as pretty much some of the highest risk people in the country at that point, because we've been through airports and planes, and fair enough, like, and so they had hand sanitizer everywhere, like, just shit for Africa. And then like, keep your distance. Only they're like, we smokers area set up with road cones. They go, only 4 people in it at a time, sort of thing. So everyone's lining up to have a dart.
Bro, what I can picture here is like a car park with like those little lifeguard things around the outside, with like people up on stands sitting down, like watching you all, like, just like with like they wear microphones, like, oi, keep your distance.
But it genuinely, like, they weren't like, but bro, they had like 2 security guards or a security guard in each corner of the car park, sitting on a deck chair and just making sure no one come in, no one left. Like, it was not quite with the megaphones, but they were telling people if they walked out of the gate, they go, "Oi, get back in here," sort of thing. Like, they rope you back in. And
were they like covered up, or like anything, respirators, gloves, or were they the whole 9 yards?
Yeah, mask and gloves, sort of thing. Like, it was like, because the outdoor stuff's obviously not as bad. Like, indoors, they were, they had the big plexiglass and that set up, and gloves and masks and that sort of thing. And like, they asked us to wear masks and that if we were inside too. So there's police and security everywhere. Like, they were making sure no one was leaving and no one was coming in. Like, it was like a fancy prison, but it was good.
Yeah, nice. And then, so it was 2 weeks of that. 2 weeks of that. You started counting down the days, I bet. Fucking probably from the start.
yeah, bro. Trying to lose count, just going fucking. I'm just waiting until they give me a phone call, sort of thing,
Yeah,
tell me I'm done. Tell me I've done my time.
I'm out. I've got parole. Fucking. So what? You got let out, and from there, what? You just made your way back to Wanaka.
Yeah. So we it was very like regimented, and they had it all set up. So we bought a flight from Auckland to Dunedin because Queenstown Airport had been closed, and we had to give them our flight number, our address that we were going to go to when we got home, who was going to pick us up from the airport and what car and what registration, stuff like that. And so it was pretty. They had the system set up pretty damn well, to be fair.
Was New Zealand in lockdown at this point in time?
Yes. So we also got because we'd done 2 weeks of isolation. They were like, the chances of you having the virus now are extremely low, or you'll be showing signs of it. So we got to travel on the flights for like essential travel. So there was only like a couple of flights running a week, and they would give us paperwork to exempt us, and then the planes were staggered like kind of social distance as well, where like there was only people in like every second or third seat, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it was pretty interesting,
Yeah, fucking. Well, I feel like New Zealand did pretty well with the whole thing.
Yeah,
like they smashed it,
Yeah, I think we did well. It's just a lot of it is like, I think the systems that we put in place are real good, but I think we're also, so lucky for the fact that we got bugger all people with so much space, and we're an island nation as well, so you don't have people walking across your border, sort of thing. Like geographically, we were really lucky, and then I do believe that I'm not going to lie, my New Zealand government's not my favourite government, but I think that they did a pretty good job,
Yeah. No, I reckon they did pretty well. I mean,
credit where credit's due.
Yeah, hard. Closing it all down was like that's a big move, bro, to chuck everyone in 4 weeks isolation. We didn't have to do that over here, and at the time I thought, fuck, that's not really going to work, because I thought, fuck, like closing it down is the best thing. We closed all our borders and stuff. Obviously, our borders and whatnot are all still closed now. I think we're down to like 7 days with no more people with the virus or whatever.
Yeah.
No more new cases. And I think we got to like level 2 or 3, and we're only allowed to go to the shops with like in 2-packs, bro. So it'd be like you and someone else could go to the shop. Any more than 2 people, that wasn't allowed. And now we've stepped back down from that, and we're slowly sort of making our way back into things. But at the time I was thinking, fuck, Australia should be doing the same thing, but we've seemed to come out the other end of it pretty honky-dory. Well, I know, definitely in Western Australia.
Yeah, I've got my concerns, for, there's obviously like it's such a complex situation, but I've got concerns, about I know that everyone's in a similar situation, but I think that I'm pretty worried for our New Zealand economy and that, how it's going to go, especially there's nothing you can do about it at a time like this, but our tourism, as 10% of our employment is in tourism in New Zealand, so that's a scary thought, knowing that we're not going to have that, and being in such a heavy lockdown, it just does get me a wee bit concerned. I'm hoping that everything will obviously bounce back eventually, but it's like, man, it's hard on some of those local families and that who are running small businesses,
Yes, very hard. I was actually only just talking to Brent Perkins about that today.
Yeah, because all that, because his family is the Go Jets, don't they?
They got the Go Jets, jet boats or whatever over in Wanaka.
It's like, what do you do, man? If no one's riding them, you can't,
Well, you can't really do anything, bro. So
you can't.
He was saying something about they reckon that they might have to wait up to a year before this sort of stuff can go ahead, and it's like, fuck, what do you do in that time between? I mean, I'm sure they've got enough experience that they can go get other jobs, but that's a fresh business, bro, and it was going well too.
Yeah, man, it was, and like I guess that's where, like, spring back to what we are talking to right at the start, is that the idea of that Trans-Tasman bubble, it could be really good for New Zealand and Australia to work together and stimulate both those economies and get a wee bit of flow going between the two, which would be it'll be cool if it happens.
I think that'll be awesome because, I mean, when you've only got one place to travel, of course you're going to go there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, if I was needed to go on holiday, I personally wouldn't choose to go back to New Zealand because it's too cold for me. But if I wanted to go on holiday and I had to, I'd be like, oh yeah, well I may as well go there. Like, do you know what I mean? And then yeah, it's going to boost the economy. People are going to spend money because they haven't like been to New Zealand before, so they're going to make the most of it, go on all these jet boat rides and whatnot that the locals don't really go on.
That's it, and it's an interesting point that as well. Like I'm hoping that the trans-Tasman thing does happen, so we can the countries can help each other out in that. But it'll be also cool, I think, to give people that opportunity now to maybe explore with their own backyard a wee bit, like you say, how many locals go on the jet boat ride? Well, maybe not a lot, but now it's like, if you've got fuck all else to do, it could be a cool thing to just.
And there'd be a lot of people there that want to support their local businesses, so they're going to go on them. Do you know what I mean? I'd rather spend that here than there or whatever. So it's definitely beneficial, and I hope that it does work like that. I don't see them going and saying, "Hey, no, we're not going to go forward with that." I think that it's definitely the smartest move for both Australia and New Zealand.
I think so. I think as long as the numbers add up, which it seems like they are at the moment, and New Zealand and Australia, it's always that, sort of funny, not love-hate, but, we like to get on each other's case and a bit, which is cool. But it's, when things like this happen, New Zealand and Australia always seem to work a nice middle ground, and help each other out, which is always so cool to see. It's like a sibling relationship almost.
Bro, that's exactly what it's like. It is exactly like that. I mean, you talk to a lot of people here, bro, and like West Australians, and they haven't even been over East. They haven't been to places like that. And I know I'm the same in New Zealand. Like, I've been to Auckland, and that's only to get a connecting flight to somewhere else.
Yeah.
I've barely travelled the North Island.
Man, I'm the same. Like, even I live about 3 hours drive away from Milford Sound, and I don't think I've ever been there properly. Like, that's one of the coolest places that you can go, and it's like people travel from halfway around the world. Well, travelled from halfway around the world to see it when they could, and it's just right there. I'm like, man, hopefully now this gives me, put a spark up my ass and make me do it.
Yeah, for sure. And you don't realize, bro. I didn't realize that until I moved over here, and I was just like, oh, to these people, like my mates, and I was like, what, you haven't been over there? Like, I've been over to like Brisbane and stuff like that from New Zealand. Like, it's nice as over there, and it just got me thinking. I was like, fuck. But when you put it like that, in New Zealand, I've been absolutely nowhere. I've been to like Dunedin, Invercargill, Alex, like Queenstown, like just the surrounding suburbs.
Yeah, just following the.
You get so isolated, eh? You become so isolated because it's more enjoyable to go somewhere overseas where other people haven't been, or you've heard of, great stories. But
it's
bananas.
It's just that human nature thing where you end up, unfortunately, taking that stuff for granted. And it's like, hopefully now this will give people that different perspective and make them appreciate a wee bit more that what they've got close by is pretty cool as well.
Yeah, for sure, bro. For sure. Yeah. Hopefully they open that up soon, because I wouldn't mind coming back for a wee trip.
No, mate. I'm actually one of those people like you talk about. I went to Aussie once when I was a lot younger, and I haven't been. It's like there's no reason to not go. It's just kind of like I just kind of haven't done it, sort of thing. And now,
yeah.
Then I'm like, well, fuck, I wouldn't mind a trip over to Brisbane or Sydney or something like that, eh?
For sure, bro. For sure. As long as they keep the flights down and they don't try to hike them up to try and make their money back and all that sort of carry on. That's where it might turn a bit fucking weird.
Yeah. The only thing I could see maybe, obviously, I don't know the ins and outs of it, but you could probably see them maybe running instead of, being able to kind of pick and choose when you fly, sort of thing. About right, there's only maybe one flight this week or something, and we've got to fill it, that kind of thing. Instead of 3 flights a day or something stupid, eh?
Yeah, but probably still also be good for the old atmosphere. Won't be burning all that jet fuel.
No, mate, you're exactly right though. Eh? Like, as long as things stay affordable enough, just to keep things stimulated, it'd be cool, and hopefully, like I say, get people back in jobs and get the economies both looking forward really from what everything's going to be hard from here. So try and make it as easy as we can.
Yeah. So fucking nice, bro. So are you? Is this your first week back at work for everyone in New Zealand?
Yeah, yeah. So obviously there was like we had our like essential workers and that flowing, but it was very minimal in that. And then yeah, as of Tuesday, oh oh no, sorry, this is the second week back. So last week, um, a lot of people went back to work. I don't know, not everyone went back to work. They still hold it as like essential workers, but it was a lot more open. So you had all your tradies go back in that and stuff like that. So this is the second week back, and I've only had 3 days of work so far because I'm on a casual contract, just because things have dried up a wee bit now. But
Yeah.
same thing though. It's just so grateful for the fact that I have a skill and have a job that I can fall back on. Everyone, so many people not being able to work. I'm like, fuck, just lucky, eh?
Yes, bro. Very lucky. Very
Yeah,
bloody lucky.
yeah,
Uh,
man.
well, you've been lucky in more ways than one, I think, this year.
So I want to run out of my luck, I reckon.
Did you know? Yeah, bro. Did you know anyone over there that you had met that ended up getting sick or anything like that from the virus?
Who got sick overseas or anything like that?
Well, just ended up with the coronavirus.
Nah, but there was a couple of things did happen though. Is we got a phone call after our 2 weeks isolation. The day we pulled up into the driveway into Wanaka, and obviously family and family come out and hugs and kisses, and oh, so happy to see you. Like because we had done our isolation at that point and we were at very low risk, and that was the bubble that we were going to join. And fucking Connor's phone rings, and I hear him talking. He goes, what? What are you getting at? Rah, rah, rah. And he gets off the phone. He's like, bro, he eventually he was on the phone for like 10, 15 minutes. Eventually got to the bottom of it. The flight that we took from London to New Zealand 2 weeks earlier, a guy who was sitting a couple of rows ahead of us had tested positive for coronavirus, and they were checking that we had no symptoms and that because he was sitting so close to us. And we're like, it's a bit late
Oh,
now.
yeah. We've just done our 2 weeks isolation. Leave us alone.
Yeah, but like we're just like imagine it. And so, but Connor first thought they were saying that it was the flight that we took that day from Auckland to Dunedin, and we're like fuck, but they were talking about the flight 2 weeks prior, so that was
Oh,
okay.
so
And
it was close.
close is close. Yeah, like I said, it was when my luck was probably starting to teeter off. Oh,
Yeah.
actually, nah, my luck really ran out on the flight from. Luck definitely ran out on the flight back from London to New Zealand. I left my $200 sunnies in the seat of the plane.
Oh, bro.
It was like
Surely they would have been able to retrieve those for you. There wouldn't have been many people on the flight.
nah, hell no, mate. Someone just pocketed them, I reckon.
Oh,
So I got my
bro.
fake Ray-Bans from Colombia.
That's the price you pay, G. That's the price you pay.
So yeah, and then so there's that go on, and then the next thing that when you say about life when you anyone getting sick. So like I said, the New Zealand government actually ended up putting on a flight for Kiwis to get back, and it was like $5,800, whatever. Come across on the news that there was a 49-year-old New Zealander who was meant to be on that flight, never showed up, and they found him dead in his hotel room from coronavirus. Never made it to the airport.
Wow, that's hectic. And he was supposed to be on, what flight was he supposed to be on?
He was supposed to be on the one a couple of weeks or like 10 days after we got back that the New Zealand government put on from all of our, from all of the interviews and stuff like that. They decided to put on that flight, and it was for us, it was pretty, obviously, like we felt very grateful to be home in that, but it made me pretty angry because, like I say, we weren't taking the piss when we were saying that we needed help to get out and that it wasn't safe, and it felt like we just weren't being listened to. And then to hear that someone had died because things didn't happen quicker, I was like, man, it's just frustrating, bro. And I was just like, that's just it's one of ours that, didn't make it home sort of thing. It was like, fuck, that's gutting.
Yeah, no, that's a shit time, bro, and that's very unfortunate. I mean, I'm glad that there weren't more numbers than that.
Oh, absolutely, bro. Yeah.
That would have been fucking pretty full on.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
So, yeah, that's pretty shit. That is pretty shit.
Yeah, like I say, I just felt like at the start we weren't being taken seriously, and it's like, it wasn't like it wasn't a boy who cried wolf. Like we actually needed help to get out, and it was just just sad. It was just real sad. I felt really sorry for his family and that, and he was over there to celebrate his 50th birthday and never made it, sort of thing. So
it's rough. That's real rough.
Yeah, it just made
So once you got back with that, did you hear any more from all these news articles, or had they just sort of pumped that story and then forgot about you?
No, so they were following up all the time, but by then, so like, I messaged a couple of them and just said, that we had made it through London, and they a couple of them put on a wee article about that. By that point, I was like, it was hard though, because I was, I wasn't, like I said, I didn't want to be the face all over the news, but at that time, when it mattered, I wanted to get the word out there and get the ball rolling. Once we were home, like I say, I wanted to help the other people get home, but I didn't want it to be like, Kiwi boy makes it home through London. Like that wasn't the point. It wasn't, to have attention that. So I was like, they were trying to message me, and I was like pressing the point of the fact that it didn't matter. Like I was home safe, but keep helping these other people. Don't ask about me. Like, rah. And they were asking us, and then we did have a couple. We did have a few questions about how the isolation was in Auckland at the hotel, which was fair enough. People wanted to know what it was like, and so I gave them a bit of a rundown and sent a few photos of that. But I've very much kept the foot on the throat, just being like, help these other people get home, rah, sort of thing. And then they announced the flight that the New Zealand government put on, and they would message me about that, and I was like, look, don't talk to me anymore. Like everyone's gonna get back, sort of thing. So yeah, there's definitely still questions being asked. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's all good, my G. I'm glad that you fucking made it home safe, and you fucking...
Oh.
I mean, you went through a hell of a ride, bro, and that's so shit. But I feel like, bro, you took control of that situation. You owned it so hard with making those moves and getting the attention from the media and getting everyone to share all that stuff, bro. You made it, pretty apparent to everyone that wasn't living in the same shoes as you. Do you know what I mean? Yeah,
cheers, boss. Yeah, I appreciate that, and I was pretty happy with the way it panned out. That I was able to get a bit of attention. There was everyone had there's a lot of people that had their opinions. A lot of people commenting on the news articles saying, that were, why travel during a pandemic? We're like, we fucking didn't. Like we left 4 months ago. Give us a break,
bro. You're always going to get people like that. You can't always be positive. And there's people out there that they just see the sort of stuff and they don't know the backstory, bro. So they're gonna jump straight on their high horse and be, oh, you guys are fucking dickheads traveling through a pandemic. It's like, man, we weren't even traveling through a pandemic. We were over there, and then we got stuck, and that's the end of it. And people just read the title, bro, and they probably didn't even read the full fucking article, and they would have started commenting.
That's exactly what happened, bro. It's like all these people who are 55, 60 who haven't fucking never left their fucking, never gone further than their local supermarket. They don't know what traveling's like. And I was just like, I didn't take anything personally. I was just like, doesn't care. The point wasn't to, get sympathy or get opinions. The point was to get attention. And by them commenting on it, more people would see it. I was just like, they're just giving us more attention to help get us home. Not attention I'm in a bad way. Attention to make sure the right people saw that we were stuck, and it worked. It worked. So handy as. And just like I say, happy to be home. My motto kind of thing, when anything went wrong when we were away or didn't work out ideal before the virus stuff happened, was, oh well, when we get home it'll make a good story. And exactly that with the virus stuff too. As soon as we got out of Peru and got to London and got to New Zealand, I was like, well, it made a fucking good story.
made the headlines.
Yeah, that's it. I'll be able to sit there and tell my grandkids about the great virus of 2020.
Yeah, bloody ice.
I was stuck in Peru.
Yeah. It's a great story, bro. And that's why I wanted to have you on. If I can get in here, have a yarn about it, because I'm sure you've talked about it, but I don't know if you've talked about it at this in depth anywhere else.
Definitely not like this. This is all the stories I can't wait to tell when I'm allowed. When we're allowed to get back with our mates and have piss ups and that. It's like I just can't wait to tell all my yarns because I haven't seen anyone. So I'm like, it's nice to be able to fucking sit down and shoot the shit with someone and tell a few good yarns and stuff.
Yeah, it's good, bro. That's a trip you'll never forget, bro. That was a good trip.
Nah, I'm already planning the next one when we're allowed to go. It didn't put me off whatsoever.
Yeah, nah. you'll be fine. I think it's going to be a couple of years down the track for you.
It's if Mum lets me leave home every game, mate. I think I aged her about 20 years when I was gone.
Yeah, she
Poor
wouldn't,
woman.
She wouldn't have been liking that, but I'm sure she'll let you go to Australia if you want to come over.
Maybe not with you, mate. I don't know if she trusts you that much.
Yeah, that's true. I'm worse than the virus.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we'll wrap it up there, I reckon, G. But
yeah, bro.
Once again, thanks for coming on, bro. It's fucking much appreciated.
Thanks for having me.
Beautiful. I'm glad you're safe and sound.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, I'm just the same thing. I just hope everyone out there fucking does the same thing. You know, if we get asked to do stuff, people just comply and keep everyone safe, save some lives, and then we can get back. You know, soon enough we're back to having piss ups and barbies if we just keep everything going the way that our countries are, right?
Yeah, just got to follow those rules.
Follow the rules, man. Yeah, there's no point breaking them. A few extra days isn't gonna hurt. You know, well, like I say, things will be back to some form of normal soon. But yeah, bro. Cheers for having me on and having a yarn. It's been good.
No worries, my G. Well, you look after yourself and you keep inside the house.
I will do, bro. I will do. Hey, look after yourself.
All right, bro. See ya.
See you, Catch you, man.